We have new mock drafts to discuss. What are some of the ACC prospects out there? David Walker helps us discuss some of those guys. And then we'll look at some of the adjustments Charlotte can make tonight against Cleveland, all today on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
We're Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
It's Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free and available anywhere you get your pods. That includes YouTube, where you can see me, you can see Doug, a part of his substack, everyhornetsboxscore.com, and you can see David Walker, the God of Gotham. My favorite one so far. That's my favorite. There's a lot of good ones, Doug, but that one's it. Good one. Does that mean I am a disciple of Gotham now, since I just pulled off my first sneakers win?
Wow, right at the top of the show. Just going to work. I thought you were going to work it in at some point in the show. I didn't know right off the top you were going to brag about your little sneaker get.
Yeah, what do you mean work it in? We're breaking open the door. I'm pushing the door in. Well, yeah, we're getting absolutely, we're going to work that in. So yes, big shout to David for embracing my love of sneakers, which has been a love for about a month now. And then I've purchased a few pair. We got our first sneakers win with the Jordan 3 white cements. They're on the way. I got that submission in 30 seconds within the drop and couldn't have done it without David. We all wear these shoes as one, as a show together. Thank you.
Hey, you guys, I'll just say I got a sneaker win too. Hold on a second.
Oh yeah. Let's see what this is.
I went to Amazon.com. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it. And if you're watching on YouTube, I'll show you. I got this red Adidas Cloud Foam skate shoe. Okay. I got them for $43. You guys are suckers.
Run DMC would be proud of those, Doug. So those are actually a lot more hip than the Jordan white cement.
It wasn't a lottery. I clicked buy and they took my money. It was amazing. You guys are suckers.
That's old school right there.
Thanks for contributing to the beast of Amazon. We contributed to Nike, which is totally better. All right, let's go to the ACC prospect list, but not before we actually get to some of the mock drafts, because just as much as I want to talk about my favorite thing at the top of the show, Doug has in the rundown his favorite thing to discuss right at the top of the show. Multiple mock drafts does he have for us today? So why don't you bring us the first one? What do you want to show us first?
All right, the first one's going to come from an old friend, Jonathan Gavoni, now at ESPN. He's got his latest mock draft dated March 9th, 2023. He has the Charlotte Hornets in the 4 slot, selecting Amen Thompson from Overtime Elite. Brandon Miller goes 3rd, and then, of course, Victor and Scoot leading the way at 1-2. So Amen drops to 4, and then Asar, his twin brother, going to the Magic at 5, just so you know. And then if I scroll down in the 29th slot, Charlotte Hornets, that pick they got from Denver in exchange for the Duran trade last season, they get Tariq Whitehead out of Duke. All right, that's the first mock draft. Second mock draft is going to come from The Ringer, Kevin O'Connor releasing his latest, also on March 9th. Now, they did this one a little bit differently. They shuffled the order until the lottery. So the Hornets, the unfortunate team here that drops from 4 to 6. Oh, nice. So in the 6th slot, the Charlotte Hornets select Asar Thompson, so they get the other Thompson twin in this draft. And then in the 29th slot, they get Terquavion Smith. So in both of those late slots, they picked ACC players. Kevin O'Connor and Gavoni did.
Yeah. So, the Thompson twins, we've talked about them a little bit. We'll continue to talk about them before we get to the draft. But how about the ACC prospects? David Walker, a Tar Heel fan, watching a lot of ACC basketball. What would you say about the Hornets selecting Tariq Whitehead as well as Terquavion Smith? What are your thoughts on both of those guys?
Yeah, I've tried to black out most of the Carolina season. That includes the ACC this year. But, shout out to Farmville Central. Terquavion Smith, the graduate of there, along with my folks. They went to Farmville Central. I like his game. I mean, it's super streaky. He's one of those guys, just talking purely NCAA tournament over the next couple of weeks, he's a guy that you could see getting super hot in a weekend and leading his team on a fun weekend of sprints of games, but a little maybe too streaky, Walker. I mean, I know that you were saying you really liked him last year. Maybe he fell in love a little bit too much with those 35-foot threes this year. About 33% from three for Traquavion this year, but certainly had some highs. Is kind of an interesting prospect. What about 6'4", something like that? So
6'4", yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're gambling there that he can just be like a microwave kind of scorer off the bench, it feels like. But certainly an intriguing guy with the local ties. That always seems to have something. That always seems it's something that the mock drafts come back to with the Hornets.
Well, and Traquavion specifically. So last year, I was a little surprised that he went back to NC State just because he seemed to be the only guy that went back to school that was also on the rise on draft boards. Now, talking with Kevin Keats afterwards, I don't necessarily think that was the case. I got to speak with him at ACC Media Day. So I was kind of surprised about that, hearing that maybe he wasn't rising up draft boards. It's one of those things where maybe draft Twitter liked him more than NBA actually did, the actual teams that are choosing from this pool. And so he goes back. But now he might have even fallen a little bit further because this draft is a lot deeper. And man, you're so right about the streakiness. So in the first round of the ACC tournament, or the quarterfinal, but the first game NC State played, he was 11 of 13. So an amazing game, scoring 30 points. But before that, he was on a 2 of 9, 3 of 15, 5 of 14, 5 of 16, 5 of 16 streak. The game before that, shot 50%, scored 17 points. But, man, there have been some, really awful shooting nights for Traquavion. Real athletic. He's 6'4", but he's only 165. So very, very tiny, but really athletic and a lot of fun. And so that's just kind of the thing on Traquavion. We can move on to Tariq Whitehead in a second. But, Doug, you got thoughts on Traquavion?
I just feel like Traquavion is the exact kind of player the Hornets don't need to draft. It's the exact kind of player the Hornets have drafted multiple times, and they've either worked out and they're getting minutes right now, or most of the time they don't work out. This team needs defense. I think there are options. There's a guy that's a little bit shorter. He's injured now, unfortunately. I don't know how much time he's going to get in the tournament, but Marcus Sasser out of Houston, shorter but larger wingspan, and seems to be better rated as a defender. Terrence Shannon Jr. out of Illinois, I think would be a better defensive prospect. Andre Jackson Jr. out of UConn. I mean, that's the thing with this late pick. I really think they should value just a ball hawk on defense. That's what I want to see them value in that late slot.
Did they have Joyner slotted anywhere there, Doug? I'm just curious. And Walker, Joyner's Smith's teammate there at NC State. He's had a pretty good year as well.
He's been
I'm not sure how he. Yeah. So did they have him anywhere near there, Doug? Do you see him?
Scrolling. I'm not seeing. Nope. He's not
older,
in this top 30.
Yeah.
But no, he had a great season. Last thing on Traquavion real quickly. If you believe on the believe in the 3-point shot, last year might be your piece of evidence for that. He did shoot 37%. Now the free throw shooting, that's right just a tick under 70 each of the last 2 seasons. So pretty identical there, but shot well on high volume, 37% from 3 on 8 attempts per game. This year it dropped to 33. And you have to think the finishing at the rim, I haven't looked at those numbers, but if he's shooting under 40 overall, and he just can't be finishing at the rim or inside the 3-point arc very well. So, yeah, those are just the last few numbers I'll say about Traquavion.
Doesn't that really feel like a book night, copy almost? I mean, I don't want to paint him with that brush necessarily before he's even played in this tournament or gotten into any pre-draft camps, but that's your fear, I think, with the Smith draft pick.
Right. Well, in the NBA, James has been awful at finishing at the rim. In college, that was by far his biggest strength, was getting to the rim and finishing once he got there. And so for Traquavion, I haven't looked at the numbers to be fair, but the 2-point percentage, it's not very good. Did we see enough of Tariq Whitehead? Did we see enough good games for you to be like, yes, that's a good late first round pick as well?
Well, from this standpoint, in those picks, I don't mind going after a guy who was highly rated out of high school. And so you could take your pick of the Duke guys really if you wanted to there. But no, I mean, I haven't seen him play. The games that I logged on to see Duke, he was either injured or it was a fouling machine, right? He didn't play much. I don't think he didn't play any, I believe, in the first Carolina game. And then I think he got 4 or 5 quick fouls in the second one. So I don't know how much he's had an impact on that Duke team. I mean, Filipowski has been the man for Duke over there, but Whitehead certainly rated out well. So, I mean, if you're going to take a swing on some of those late round picks, I guess you could do worse there, but I just don't. There's too much unknown there for me as far as what he's going to be in the next level.
Well, he had a good game against Miami in the ACC tournament. That really helped Duke kind of solidify that win against the Canes. It was an awesome matchup. He had 16 points. It was the third time he scored 16 or more this season. He had 18 against Boston College on January 7th. But really, it was that Miami game, just when you kind of put into effect the opponent, the meaning of the game that helped them win that ACC tournament overall, and him shooting well. The 3-point shot is there, at least right now, 3.5 attempts per game, over 40%. You got to like that. Doug, is there anything you have on Tariq Whitehead?
Just that on Kevin O'Connor's big board, he compares him to a steady Lance Stevenson.
I don't know. What does that mean?
Yeah. Wait, why does that intrigue me? And I need to be pushed off of that here. Like, that's what we wanted from Lance Stevenson, to be steady, except he's not. He's anything but steady as Lance.
Born steady.
That's a great calling card. I mean, that's how you should market yourself right there. I mean, that's a way to get drafted.
Yeah, Born Steady is great by you, Doug. I did want to let that shine just a little bit. But with Tariq Whitehead, I know you also talked a little bit about Filipowski before we move on. That he's been good, and even talk about just getting better at the end of the season. Maybe Whitehead did a little bit, but Filipowski certainly did, and he was even good at the very beginning, right? Probably had like that little middle of the season. There's a little bit of a drop off, but then he picked it right back up. Pretty mobile from the top of the key, 7 foot. Yeah. Kyle Filipowski is very good.
Yeah. He reminds me of he had a little hands bro in him, I thought, especially when he was trying to go down inside, maybe more athletic, a little bit taller, but also like a Plumlee with a 3-point shot. Doug, does that do anything for you?
It does not.
But
no, I haven't really dug deep into Filipowski yet, but it could intrigue me.
Mason Plumlee.
Well, the last 4 games of the season for him were awesome. So 22 points, 22, 17, 20. Those are the outings he had. 7 of 17 against Carolina, 8 of 10 against Pitt, 8 of 9 against Miami, 8 of 17 against Virginia. So, yeah, he finished the season very strong, and so we'll see what he does in the tournament.
These comparisons by KOC are great. This is for Filipowski. It's John Collins without the elite hops, which is, again, I don't know that that's what you want. But here's the thing. I don't know if Filipowski can be this, but the Hornets could use a 5 who can shoot threes. Like, if you're a 5 that can shoot threes, whether they get them in free agency or the draft, you could probably get immediate playing time on this team because they don't have the ability to play 5 out really at all without some huge negatives on the defensive end of the floor.
One thing, the KOC draft guide, can we get back to the player hater comps? Because they're always loose.
I'm working on them now. I'm already working on them.
Perfect. Because we did it a while back. They were fantastic. And then it's like, oh, wait, do you want to do them? Sure. Yeah. We just never get back to them. We've been doing a better job at delivering on those things. Let's deliver on the player hater comps. I would love to do that. And those are always great. All right. Let's move on, talk the actual players that are in Hornets uniforms as it stands right now. Coming up next on Locked On Hornets.
Don't go to sleep on the Hornets just yet.
Talk a little bit about the difference here against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Some injury news. You'll have to stay tuned, though, to find out what that injury news is. This episode is brought to you by Ibotta, groceries, school shopping. And if you're getting a little something for yourself, you're already doing it. So why not get cash back for it with Ibotta? Watching your closet grow after purchasing all of the season's latest trends. How about also watching your cash back grow with each purchase with Ibotta? You can get cash back on every single shopping trip you take. Ibotta gives you cash back on hundreds of grocery items, with produce to personal care to pantry goods. Either link your loyalty account or upload your receipt after you shop and get your cash back. It's that easy. The average Ibotta users earns $120, not just 20, $120 a year in real cash back. That could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip, or you could use your cash back to buy that flight you've been eyeing, that game you're dying to go to, or the fancy dinner you've been craving as well. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibotta by using the code LOCKED when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app and use code LOCKED That's Ibotta, Ibotta, Ibotta in the Google Play or App Store, and use code LOCKED. More Locked On Hornets coming up next. So the Charlotte Hornets have the Cleveland Cavaliers tonight. They lost the first matchup, 114-108. They had the 16-point lead. We already kind of went over that game, but we did not hear from David on that matchup. So they go 0 of 2, no Mark Williams, no Kelly Oubre in the most recent game here, David. Just what are some of your thoughts on the recent games you watched the Charlotte Hornets play?
Yeah, I watched him in person, guys. Was in the building for that Cavs game, a little Sunday matinee action.
Nothing like
which is always fun. Well, I mean, the big thing, Clifford hit on after the game was obviously the horrible officiating. That was my favorite part of Clifford's breakdown. And no, but I mean the turnovers, right? Doug, you mentioned it in your recap there. Terry just really struggling with some of the ball handling duties late in that one, and just had way too many turnovers that let Donovan Mitchell and the Cavs kind of get back into it. But I mean, I think you have to be really proud, honestly, of how they played in that game. I know you guys went over it a little bit, but that's what you want. And that's what I told my oldest walking out of that game. And I've already tuned him in. He's done what he doesn't. He wants no more wins. I've already tuned him in to the reality of what's going on.
Wow, take it. You've turned him into a tankanista.
Oh, he's running mock drafts just all the time. As soon as he gets
on. Oh yeah, my guy.
But you want competitiveness. You want want that big lead, and then you want it to kind of slip away. And you want
if it does, it does. I don't know if you want it. I don't know if you really want it. But if it does, if it happens to walk out the door, then fine.
Yeah, I might want it. I might want that to slip a little bit. Well, and not anymore, right? Because we talked about it. We might have to remind people as the lottery approaches. But the Hornets are cemented, right? I mean, the Orlando Magic with their win, the Hornets with their couple of losses. It would be insane for the Hornets to be able to catch Orlando and lose anything outside of the 12.5% shot that they have to have the fourth best odds in the lottery. What are you looking at, Doug? A lot of this podcast is Doug giving reactions either to me or his screen, and then me trying to figure out what those reactions are. What you got for us, Doug?
Don't flatter yourself. I'm not paying attention to you at all.
I know.
I was Googling to see if there had been any news about Clifford being fined for those post-game comments about the officiating. Now, he was very careful in the way he worded things, and I'm not seeing any fine levied yet. But it was the most critical we've heard Clifford be of the officiating, was not a fan. He challenged a call late, and that challenge was unsuccessful. It was on a Terry Rozier challenge of, I believe, a Garland shot.
Yeah.
And it looked like to me on that play, they thought that Terry got him on the arm up top. And then, so that's what they called. And then they challenged, and then Clifford challenged it. They go to the booth. They see that there was no contact. But then after the shot was already released, Terry got into his hip a little bit. And so they were like, well, that original thing that we thought we saw, that doesn't exist. So we're going to call this other thing to make up for it. It was kind of BS. There were a couple of horse hockey calls in the game. So I do agree with Clifford, but it was interesting to finally see him go out there. And then real quick, I want to throw in on the Rozier 8 turnovers. You're already getting comments from Clifford delivered via the Rod Boone Express and the Charlotte Observer on Terry Rozier being a warrior. And this is a storyline we've seen all season. LaMelo hurt, Terry playing out of position, being forced to play point guard, makes a bunch of mistakes, but then the team defends him and gives all of these excuses for Terry about he's playing out of position, so on and so forth, but he's a really good player. And I just think it's really interesting. I would like to see this team get to a place where when a player is injured, they don't have to play another player so far out of position. This is where the playmaking depth really kills them. They play a player so far out of position that they have to go out of their way to defend him when he has 8 turnovers.
Well, and think about such a steep drop-off with LaMelo. I mean, nobody's going to be LaMelo. We just need somebody else that can pass and is 6'8" and can see at all angles. We just need something like that's not going to happen. But still, the drop-off is crazy from one playmaker that you have on this squad to just nobody else at that particular position. And that's why it would make a lot of sense for them to go out on the veteran free agent market and get somebody that could be a backup point guard. And Dennis Smith Jr., right? Like, I do think I was interested in James Plowright put out some cleaning the glass numbers on him being the primary ball handler, and the numbers for their offense were absolutely atrocious. And that did, like, some of the stats back up the eye test and some don't. And I did not expect the offense to be that awful with him as the primary ball handler. And I guess I think about it in terms of watching him facilitate. He's a good passer, right? We see him as a good dish guy, but we also know that his offense, particularly, unless he's driving to the rack, not really helping you. We've seen quite a bit of bad shooting nights from Dennis Smith Jr., and I wonder how much that hurts as well with him at the one. So it's weird, right? Like, I like Dennis Smith Jr. as a backup point guard, as somebody that can play alongside LaMelo, but the numbers are atrocious with him being that lead guy.
Okay, but isn't context important here? Like, he's not been starting with the better players on this team. He's been ball handling for the bench, which has been, there's nobody to pass to. This bench has been terrible.
Just the context too. If I can look back at James's tweet, but I think it was like with some of the starters there. I don't think it was with the bench. I think it was him with Kelly Oubre, with Gordon Hayward, some of the starters with him as the primary ball handler. I think that's where the numbers were. Not only they weren't 30 percentile, they were like 10, 5. It was atrocious. So yeah, that's not something that really fit, but we'll see what happens with Dennis Smith Jr. All right, last thing.
If you're asking to make sense of a mock draft with Traquavion Smith or something like that, I mean, that's what you're talking about right now, right? They're still trying to find anyone they can have on this roster that could potentially be, a stopgap at the point guard position, a younger guy. They've tried that. Bouknight obviously not the answer, so still searching for that, and it can result in things like this that we're seeing now. But you're right, Doug. It's just hard for Terry. It feels like we've been searching for that since way before LaMelo, since Kemba Walker days of a backup point guard need. You know what I mean? So just something they're still looking for.
Are you telling me that Brian Roberts is not walking through that door?
Oh my God, that's a great pull.
Gennaro Pargo not walking through that door.
Jeremy Lin not walking through that door.
Don't get us started. We will go all day. Real quickly, injury update. Mark Williams still out. Kelly Oubre, do expect him back tonight. David, what does that mean to you that you'll see Kelly Oubre chucking up shots, but also we don't have offense, so it's totally fine.
Absolutely. I mean, I was disappointed Oubre wasn't playing in that game. I tend to think it's fun, especially this late stage of the season when, like you said, everything is locked in. Let Oubre, let Poppy cook. I mean, you know what I mean? That's what the people want to see. So I look forward to having that back. It'll be interesting to see how that balances with, how competitive the Hornets were in that first one, because Kelly does like to get his shots up. And I applaud him for it. But, yeah, I mean, that's just another look, the Hornets need all the help they can get, especially from a scoring standpoint. So if he can add some in there, they could maybe sneak one out in Charlotte. Are we playing in Charlotte tonight, guys?
Yep. Again,
yes, there we go.
In Charlotte once more. Yeah. What do you think about Kelly coming back, Doug?
They need offense. It's been a struggle to score. So especially late game, you saw the execution was not exactly there. Clifford mentioned Kelly's absence in relation to that. Kelly does make good plays at the end of the games typically, and is another shooting option for them. So yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to make them better. I think it's tough to really get your head around any kind of numbers for DSJ versus Terry at the point guard position when everything has been so terrible and they haven't had any consistency in terms of the guys that they're playing with. But I do think that defensively to get games started, I mean, you saw it against Cleveland in that last game. They were able to really hamper a lot of what Cleveland wanted to do, and a big part of that was the harassment of DSJ that you don't get when you put Terry Rozier next to Kelly Oubre. I expect them to start Kelly Oubre, but I'd love to see DSJ get the start, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, let's continue that conversation real quickly, and then we'll discuss some of more of David Walker's expertise coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Don't go to sleep on the Hornets just yet.
We'll pay attention to who David is watching this first weekend of the NCAA tournament. And I do want to discuss more of the backup point guard position and discuss just how important that is going forward. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is a great way to get involved in the last little stretch that you have of this NBA season, because new customers get a no sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet does not win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, it's secure, it's super easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from the money line to point scores, threes drained, all of that good stuff. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same game parlay. So don't miss the chance to get your no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go FanDuel.com/locked on. That's FanDuel.com/locked on to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. One more segment to go. Locked On Hornets. So, Doug, just to finish up the conversation about the backup point guard spot, do you think Dennis Smith Jr. should be that guy, right? Like, here we are talking about the big drop-off that you have to Terry and how difficult it is and how Terry is a warrior and all that. We have talked about this ad nauseum this season. Players playing out of their usual role, which is certainly not going to be a fantastic environment for them to improve as basketball players, because they're doing these things that you normally wouldn't have them do. But Dennis Smith Jr. is, when he goes out there. Like, he's a guy that I don't know if his role has really changed all that much at all this season. You know, go out there and defend your bleep off. Go out there and facilitate. He's not shooting so many threes. You don't want him to completely abandon the three-point line, because you want him to have a semi-pulse out there. But he's still attacking offensively. Are you saying you would want Dennis Smith Jr. maybe to be that backup point guard and bring him back?
Oh, totally. I mean, I've said it before on this show that I think that if they don't offer him a competitive contract that could secure him on this roster moving forward, then they don't want to win. Now, if DSJ decides, hey, thanks for allowing me to get back into the league, I'm going to go somewhere else and make more money or whatever, I guess. I mean, that's up to him. But I think the Hornets should offer something competitive enough that it makes sense for him to stay, because, you know, his defense is exactly what this team needs, his physicality. I think it's going to leak into other players, especially young players that watch his effort out there night in and night out. I think it's super important.
Well, yeah, and I know we both want Dennis Smith Jr. back. I guess offensively, too, do we want to go after somebody else that we feel is a good passer in the backcourt? And, you know, that it'll be interesting to see what they decide to do and how good they feel about Dennis Smith Jr. offensively. Or maybe they attack it in the draft. David, the NCAA tournament, it's my favorite time of year. Is this your favorite sporting event of the year?
Usually.
Yeah. Is it North Carolina missing out? Is usually not the way.
Yeah, it doesn't hold quite the same, but that's all right, guys. It's still super fun. Thursday, Friday are awesome. You know, just wall-to-wall hoops. So that's fantastic. Absolutely. Doug, do you have your eye on any guys? I mean, have you been? You don't usually tune in until maybe the conference tourneys get cranking up.
Yeah, I think the one player that I'll have my eye on is a player that the Hornets would probably target if they fall in the draft. And I don't mean to be too negative here, but you always have to prepare for those scenarios. It'd be Chiante George out of Baylor. I want to see him perform in a big game. I think that's been a little bit of a knock on him. People can see the talent. People can see all of the positives in his game, and there aren't a ton of negatives. But he has shrunk in a few big games this season, including in that conference tournament. So I want to see him in this NCAA tournament really step up and have a big game.
What about you, David? Anybody you watching in the first weekend of the NCAA tournament? If you can't watch North Carolina, what team are you going to be paying attention to?
Literally can't. They're not on TV anywhere.
No. NIT, CBI, no thing.
NOT. They said NOT to the NIT.
Well, you know, I mean, obviously, Brandon Miller, and I've watched him a couple times this season, probably I think is the guy that would be like the first up after Scoot and Victor, right? I mean, now if the Hornets were in that position, there's a lot obviously that goes into his situation. And so what that would look like for them is up for debate and up for discussion if that was the lineup like that. But he's really, really good. I think the two guys at Arkansas are interesting as well, at Black and Smith, I believe. They've got a lot of good players there. I think Jalen Wilson is someone that I have actually watched from Kansas. If you're talking about that late first round pick, he's maybe a guy that could be there for the Hornets. A legit scorer at Kansas this year, has led that team. Obviously has some remindings of Agbaji, I guess, just because of the Kansas connection, and a guy that went back in to have a good season in college again this year. But I was going to say George as well, Doug, there. He's an interesting guy you want to see play on the big stage. Maybe a Chris Murray, whose brother was drafted. See how he does in these playoffs or in the tournament here. I'm just trying to think of some of the guys that would maybe be in the latter portion of that first round. Walker.
Well, how about Jairus Walker?
That's what I was going to go.
Well, he won't be in the latter portions of the first round, but Jairus Walker is going to be featured even more if Sasser is unable to go. So Walker, you're interested in a little Jairus Walker.
I am, and absolutely. There is room for two Walkers in town. Jairus would be mad welcome here as far as I'm concerned. If you look at what he did, 13 points the last couple of games. Did not have a great one against Memphis, though, and that's what bounced them from the conference tournament. So Memphis, actually, they get in the NCAA tournament by automatically qualifying. One of the only 3 losses that Houston had all year. But just a really interesting player. So he'll shoot threes. He'll block a ton of shots as well. He grabs a decent amount of rebounds. Just
beefy boy.
Yeah, just contributes in a lot of different areas. And so I wonder, is there any opportunity for Jairus Walker to take over? Is that even a part of his game where he just is going to be the 20-point guy? He's given you a few 20-point games this season, but it's been a while. The last one we saw, it was February 5th. So it's been over a month now since we've seen that. So big game. Tagline for Chiante, kind of copy and pasting that to Jairus Walker as well against some really good competition, because that's one thing about Houston. They have not faced a bunch of teams in the top 25 this year. That helps them only lose 3 games. So what does Jairus Walker do? Assuming they get out of the first round and they beat the 16 seed, what can they do in those next 3 games when they're facing some big time competition?
Agreed there. And going back to David's comments on Brandon Miller, I'm not going to put any bad juju on him. I don't want to say I hope he has a bad tournament. I'm not going to say that. But I hope he has a tepid tournament, and here's why. I believe in Brandon Miller if the Hornets are selecting 3. I believe in Brandon Miller especially if the Hornets are selecting 4 and he's still there and somebody goes Amen Thompson 3.
Yep.
But I want, if they get the 2 pick, I want it to be Scoot. Scoot already has one of my draft roses, and I'm afraid, here's what I'm afraid of, is that Brandon Miller scorches through this NCAA tournament and Michael Jordan is watching on the television and goes, let me get that guy instead of Scoot. Does it, falls in love with the tourney hero? Because I think Brandon Miller is going to be a really, really good player. But I think Scoot is going to be a great player. Like, to me, it's almost a guarantee. So I don't want anything to get in the way of Scoot at 2 if that's where the Hornets.
I love this angle. I love this. This is classic Doug here. I hadn't even taken that in consideration. Well, and Scoot. I mean, he's already got an NBA body. Like he's actually ready to go.
Hottie with a body
today.
Well, the thing is, this is coming off of the heels of Woj discussing how he has.
Don't say heels. Don't say heels. You're triggering David. Tell me, come on, man.
This is coming on the heels, the Tar Heels, maybe even, of Woj saying that the number 2 pick is wide open right now. That people are starting to. That's
the smoke. Yeah. The smoke is already starting. Woj getting in there, mucking it up.
They reference his lack of playmaking in the G League, and they reference his lack of a 3-point shot in the G League.
Now we're referencing these things. We've slotted him for an entire year. He's been the second pick.
That's right.
Now,
don't worry about it. We just talked about Jay Hernandez, Bruce Kreitzer. Get Scoot in there. They'll figure out how to shoot. Don't worry about it.
Huge. Yes, I completely agree with that. Come on, Scoot. If it's not Wemby, come on, Scoot. I'm with you on that number 2 overall pick. All right, that's the God of Gotham. I am a disciple. That is David Walker joining us this week. He makes his weekly appearance, and we appreciate
Amazon,
it.
$43. I got away with a nice pair of sneakers. Feel good on my feet.
That's a very frugal Doug Branson. You can catch his frugal Substack, Every Hornets Boxscore.
Frugalfootcandy.com. Check it out.
Yeah, he's going to be launching all of those, all the websites. Go check out all the Doug websites. We appreciate you making us your first listen every single day. Now make sure your second listen is Game to Game NBA. Every moment, every top performance, every result. Locked On Game to Game covers every game from across the league with local analysis that only Locked On can deliver. Follow Game to Game on Locked On NBA, available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast. Have a great rest of your day. We'll be back with you tomorrow.